Good morning to one and all present here. We start the new year at Gokhale Institute of Politics and Economics with the launch of the Center for Sustainable Development. With this, the Institute is also proud to launch the revival edition of Equilibria, the Institute's student-led editorial. To grace this occasion, we have in our company Dr. S.B. Ravi Pandit, founder and chairman, KPIT Technologies Limited, Dr. Pramod Chaudhary, Executive Chairman, Praj Industries Limited, and eminent scientist Dr. Raghunath Mashelkar. I now request Dr. Ajit Ranade, Vice Chancellor of the Gokhale Institute, to share the vision for the Center for Sustainable Development.
Thank you, Pia. So before I start, let me wish all of you a very happy, prosperous, peaceful, healthy, fulfilling 2023 and many years to come. And before we move further, I know it's not, I don't have his permission, but I would like to begin with a very loud applause for somebody whose special birthday is today, and he has made a special effort to be here today. So, on that note, my name is Ajit Ranade. I am currently the Vice Chancellor of Gokhale Institute of Politics and Economics. I know many of you are friends, many of all my faculty colleagues are here, but I would like to begin by saying a few words about the Institute. Our trustee and secretary to Servants of India Society, which founded this institute, is also with us today, Mr. Milind Deshmukh. So the institute is 93 years old, and it was set up basically to do research and subsequently teaching in all aspects of economic development. It has been a pioneer in empirical research. In fact, many people, we recently had visitors like Dr. Bibek Debroy, the chairperson of Economic Advisory Council to Prime Minister, who also reminded us that Gokhale Institute was a pioneer in doing field work-based research, so primary insight. And that is something we are very proud of. So I want to remind this audience that this institute has a long and rich tradition of research, teaching. And as we go ahead, I'll say a few more words about aspects like advocacy. So today, Gokhale Institute also has been a university, a deemed university, since 1993. So almost more than 30 years now. So we are a degree granting institution with an all India status. It is not under state government of Maharashtra or government of India. It is fully autonomous and independent with a degree granting status. For much of its university status, it was mainly granting master's and PhD degrees. But recently, it has also started, we have started the undergraduate degree. And in the coming years, this program will expand substantially as per the new education policy. So today, I want to say a few more words before I come to the launch of CSD today. In many universities, you have faculties, faculty of art, faculty of science, faculty of engineering, law, medicine. Here we are all under one roof. It's called Gokhale Institute. In fact, we don't even have separate departments. We don't have Department of Economics, Department of Sociology, Department of Political Science, and so on. Everybody is a faculty under the one roof, and faculty and staff work together as one family. Our ambitions are large, our family is small. And however, the work is interdisciplinary. So we do cover aspects not of all fields allied with economics, such as political science, let's say, or sociology, demography, most importantly, demography and population science, health economics, agriculture. The institute has the country's oldest agricultural economic research center. The institute also has a research center called Population Research Center. There is a Center for Study of Social Exclusion and Inclusive Policy. So these three centers have been around. The first two centers have been around for almost 50, 60 years. The third center is also more than 10 years old. So therefore the activities, research, teaching is organized as under one roof, but there are these centers. And the centers are where the focus areas are. So we recently launched the fourth center, as you know, and the person who helped us found that center is also with us, Dr. Anand Deshpande. It's the Center for Study of Entrepreneurship and Development, in particular, Center for Study of Nano Entrepreneurship. So that center was launched on 15th of August this year. And today we are assembled to launch the Center for Sustainable Development. Sustainability, that, you know, people say sustainability is a word which you hear quite often. Sustainability, the definition is, I think, very short. Sustainable development is that which allows future generations to enjoy the same standard of living or better without hurting or compromising the development of today. So sustainability, as the word says, is about sustaining into the future. So if we have very high fiscal deficit today, let's say, we are borrowing money from our future kids. They will have to bear the burden in terms of higher taxation. So higher fiscal deficit is not sustainable. If we burn too much coal and have too much carbon emissions, we are reducing the environmental space, and therefore our future generations and kids will not have the same standard of living or quality of air and water quality. If we destroy, the world used to, I'm told India used to have maybe 2 or 3 lakh tigers, biodiversity. Today we have, I don't know, 2 or 3, 4,000. So if we reduce the biodiversity too much by indiscriminate deforestation or killing, then our future generations will not have any biodiversity. So that is also, sustainability means living life today without compromising our future, but without also compromising our today. So it is a creative challenge. It is a formidable challenge, but it can be handled creatively. Under the rubric of sustainability, you might have heard things like green economy, green strategies, renewable energy, and so on, sustainable lifestyle. A famous quote is, of course, by Mahatma Gandhi, who said that the world has enough resources for everybody's need, but not for everybody's greed. So I think the foundation, I would like to say, the foundation of sustainable development actually is on morality and justice. This may sound a little bit strong to say, but there can be no sustainable development strategy without a foundation of a moral force and concept of fairness and justice. We have to be just and fair to future generations who are not born. In fact, the people, when I said high fiscal deficit leads to higher taxation, in economics and political science, we have the principle of no taxation without representation. But the unborn children are not even born. I mean, they have no say, and we have already imposed taxes on them. Very unfair. So foundation of sustainable development is on a moral force, what Gandhi said, and fairness and justice. But that does not mean that our lifestyle should be crimped. We still want our internet. We still want our electric cars. We still want our airplane travel. So I'm saying that it doesn't mean that we go back to the Stone Age. That is the challenge. It is a very formidable challenge, but we have creative solutions. And India, I believe, is very, very, very well poised to tackle this challenge. I don't want to take, words away from our guests, but basically the combination of, let's say, solar. India is one country which has 350 days of abundant sunshine. And sun does not charge us anything. There is no meter. There is no billing. So if we can convert that into so sustainability requires sustainable energy, sustainable consumption, sustainable livelihood, sustainable jobs. But we are endowed with Mother Nature, that's part of the creative solution. So today we are launching the Center for Sustainable Development, and I'm very happy that 2 generous donors have come forth to give us initial support, to give it impetus. As Pia introduced, we won't have long introductions. By the way, I have promised Dr. Mashelkar and our guests that our program will end sharp at 11:30 or maybe 11:25, because he has a very busy day, and so do you, so all of you. So our 2 guests of honors are Dr. Ravi Pandit and Dr. Pramod Chaudhary. Both, please give them a warm applause. Both are leaders in, of course, different fields, but both have come together because our goals and their goals are converging in terms of vision for sustainable development. So the Center for Sustainable Development is going to be a center where we will do research, and again, presumably and predominantly on fieldwork and based insight, on actual primary data-based research, but also research like impact evaluation of technologies, or the way forward for what should be the right public policy be. Should we have high taxes on gasoline? I'm not saying these are, I mean, I'm just giving an example. Should we give high subsidies to electric cars? Is that sustainable? Should India also sign up to banning the use of coal? 50-60% of our electricity nationally comes from coal, and we have the third largest depository or second largest depository of coal. So why should we be deprived of some resource that we ourselves have? Is there a place for coal in our sustainable journey? Can we have a model where everything can coexist? Because you can't have one extreme solution. You ban coal and only this or only that. So everything will exist in our sustainable energy journey. There will be biofuels, there will be renewable energy like solar and hydrogen, there will be solid waste, there will be coal, there may be gasoline, there may be agriculture waste. So it's a coexistence. But these are the kind of research issues that we will look at. We will also look at the concept of a circular economy, where we say the entire circular, I mean from birth to death, or what do they call, cradle to grave. So when you buy your Tetra Pak, you enjoy your orange juice, but you have to, our sustainable development model has to make sure what happens to that Tetra Pak when you crumple it and so it. Recycling, reuse, reduce, all that. So circular economy, most importantly for our country, agriculture is very, very important and critical. 55% of our people depend indirectly or directly on agriculture. But our agriculture, is it climate resistant? Is it resilient? Is our agriculture sustainable? In the state of Maharashtra, there are 36 or 37 districts. Almost every district is growing sugarcane. Sugarcane uses 3% of the arable or cultivable land, but 60% of the water, irrigation water. Is that sustainable? It's a cash crop. It's a very hardy crop. It gives good returns to the farmers, but is it sustainable? Tobacco. Tobacco employs some 45 lakh farmers. Tobacco employs millions, I don't know, lakhs of BD rollers. But is tobacco something sustainable? What is the role of tobacco in our sustainable journey? So agriculture is one area where the CSD also will focus on. Then, of course, we would like to take local issues. I know that these are all exploratory ideas, but especially since we are in the city of Pune, can we do something about the PMRDA, Pune Metropolitan Regional Development Authority region? Can we do something about river regeneration? I am told that the river Thames in London and river Seine, how do you pronounce it? Seine in France, they were actually black sludge rivers, dirtier than the dirtiest gutter that you have seen. But today, if you go, these are places where the water is so clean, there's marine life, there are tourists, it's a place you go in the evenings. So can we have that vision for Pune? So these are kind of thoughts that this Center for Sustainable Development will tackle. We will, of course, be organized, details about it probably, I would request you and encourage you to look at the website as it evolves. There will be projects, there will be research, there will be internships, there will be student involvement, short papers, there will be outreach. Most importantly, as I said, it's three things: research, teaching, and advocacy. So we think Gokhale Institute can play a very strong role in policy advocacy. Advocate policies for government. Sometimes these things require some nudges from government policy. So do policy, but the policy advocacy should be based on science and logic and sound foundations. So with those words, of course, before I conclude, I would like to say a few words about our chief guest for the function today. Dr. Raghunath Mashelkar, as you know, is 80 years old today. I'll give you time for an applause, but let me say a few words. So he readily agreed. See, the function, the reason we are having it today, which is also his birthday and a very important birthday, is because in some parts of India, especially in Bengal and Orissa, and Mr. Patnaik probably can endorse, and especially in the tradition of this Vivekananda and Ramakrishna tradition, 1st of January is celebrated as Kalpataru Day. It is a very special and auspicious day. Kalpataru manje wish-fulfilling tree. we are under this banyan tree. So this is the day when all your wishes will get fulfilled. Of course, please make good wishes. So I thought this is a very auspicious day, and it's the first day of the new year. This is a day to. I know it's not easy to call people on a Sunday, that too on the 1st of January, but that's the reason I made a phone call. And Dr. Mashelkar, even though this is going to be a very busy day for him, he readily agreed. I said we will keep the function for 1 hour, and he has readily agreed. As you know, I'm not going to read out his biodata, but a few things I want to mention about him. One is that he has pioneered this slogan. It started, I think, with your article in the Harvard Business Review with C.K. Prahlad, but in your one of your lectures in Australia, more for less, more from less for more. More from less for more, which actually captures the sustainability idea, sustainable development. We should produce more by using less. So produce more, that means produce more stuff by using less resources of Mother Earth and Mother Nature, but for more people. First, more is about productivity and expansion. Second, less is about using less resources, less coal, less energy, less forests, less tree cutting. And the third more is, it's more for everybody, not only rich people. See, India is experiencing a boom, 50% increase in sale of Mercedes cars. But that third more is more for everybody, inclusive development, bottom of the pyramid. More from less for more. This is one of the slogans that he pioneered. Many things. He is one of the very few Indians who is a fellow of the Royal Society of the UK. He is a recipient of all 3 awards, the highest awards of Government of India, Padma Shri, Padma Bhushan, and Padma Vibhushan. And we wish you get Bharat Ratna also. And he is, of course, known as, he has been with the government for many years, so he's done that stint. So a rare combination of somebody who's a scientist, a technocrat, an innovator, and most importantly, sir, with your permission, I'm going to quote someone who wrote to him, a very, very famous person wrote to him today, that you are 80, but you look fit enough to be 40, but your mind is 20. So please give him a warm applause, and thank you for coming today. Over to you, Pia.
Thank you, sir. We will now felicitate our guests for today. I request Mr. Milind Deshmukh, Secretary, Servants of India Society, to kindly felicitate Dr. Raghunath Mashelkar. I request Dr. Ajit Ranade to felicitate Dr. Ravi Pandit. And Dr. Pramod Chaudhary. Introducing our guests for today, Dr. Ravi Pandit is the founder and chairman of board of KPIT Technologies Limited. Dr. Pandit has bolstered many social issues and is a founder trustee of Janvani, an NGO which works in the domain of bringing about improvements in urban India, and Pune International Center, a national level think tank working in the policy space. We request Mr. Pandit to address today's gathering.
It's indeed a pleasure to be with all of you this morning. 1st Jan, the beginning of the year. Location, this beautiful banyan tree. A very good company of all of you. And especially Dr. Mashelkar, this is the year of Sahasra Chandra Darshan. So 80th birthday signifies that. And so again, my pleasure. And I thank you for being here to grace this occasion. Sustainability is actually at the core of almost all the development discussions currently. The global warming is, of course, something on the top of everybody's mind. You want to call somebody? Global warming is, of course, at the top of everybody's mind because I think it poses an existential threat to humanity, and probably not just to humanity, but life in general. But that's not the only issue that we have to worry about, and Ajit mentioned that. Diversity is a problem, lack of diversity, the destruction of diversity is a problem. There is a growing awareness that this entire world is interconnected, and we survive. Humanity survives if everybody else, the flora and fauna that make this planet, also survive. Then, of course, the remaining parts of environment is also an issue that needs to be tackled. Cities which are becoming rapidly unlivable and countryside which is getting really denuded is an area that we need to look at. All this is about environmental sustainability. But of course, there is more to sustainability than just the environment. This whole issue about economic sustainability and social sustainability. Are we creating a society which is socially strewn apart, which is economically bankrupt, and what Ajit said, I completely agree with, and environmentally really poor. So this is the issue that we really need to tackle. And I think in India, economic viability or sustainability is also very important because, many of us really belong to the poor strata. The government itself is stretched for resources. And we have learned from all the deliberations at COP27 that nobody else is going to fund us for the building of sustainability in our country. We have to do it ourselves. So given this defining problem of this era, what is it that we expect the center to do? What are our views regarding what the center should deliver? A vision, I should say, for the center, for all of us. And I'm sure all of us have some vision. I thought I should put my thoughts forward about what my vision about the center is. Research on sustainable development. Research which is fact-based. Research which is based on very objective analysis of things is what one is looking for in this center. And as Ajit mentioned, Gokhale Institute actually stands for ground-up research and objectivity. And policy papers, case studies, implementable solutions. Now, when I say implementable, what I mean is that it has to be environmentally sensitive, it has to be economically viable, and it has to be socially acceptable. What we really need to come up is sustainable solutions for that sustainable development. Now, one can take a cut on sustainability on a variety of ways. You can take a cut on the basis of what is the core pillar of economic activity. How can we look at sustainable investment or sustainable production, sustainable saving or sustainable consumption? In a free market economy, consumption is really at the core of any activity. How can we make consumption sustainable? And there is this talk about the 4 R's, refuse, reduce, reuse, recycle. We don't have to become ascetics because most of us have come from that maybe 3 generations ago. So we need to have a good life, but do we need to really splurge? Do we need to be profligate? These are the issues that we need to talk about, and I think the center can do research in this area. One can also look at sustainable development from a spatial or from a geography perspective. How can one state develop to make its development sustainable? And let me give an illustration. I was in MP just about 2 weeks ago. I had gone to Panna, to the natural reserve, the forest, the tiger reserve. I was very happy to see that MP is 65% forest, 65% forest. Lot of agriculture. And the forests are rich with diversity. You, of course, have tigers and leopards and now cheetahs. You have a whole range of animals. You have a lot of birds. You have extremely diverse fauna. All kinds of trees, you can say. Now, if we want to look at development of MP, should industrial development be the only plank? Can we think of a development of the state which is more linked to its assets, which are at core diverse and sustainable? Maybe we can look at ecotourism. Our income from ecotourism is so minuscule. You compare us with South Africa, our income is very low, but our diversity is equally good. We can probably have a lot of tourists coming in, maintain all the richness of our flora and fauna, and still make things economically very viable. I was talking to the people there about saving the tiger, and they talked about different fences, and they said their most important fence is social fence. Because from this forest, there are jobs created for guides, for guards, for drivers, for a lot of biologists, for a lot of researchers. All these people have their investment in the continuation of the diversity of this forest. That's a social fence. Can we do something about a case study like this? Can we talk to a state government to saying that this could be your roadmap for a sustainable development? We can do the same for a class of cities, whether it's a city like Pune or it's a smaller city like maybe a Nagar or Satara. I think we can come up with solid, fact-based, research-based analysis of how to come up with a sustainable development solution for a geography like this. And of course, we can look at it from an industry vertical perspective. Ajit spoke about energy, about agriculture. What substantial things can be done in the area of agriculture to make it truly sustainable. The same thing applies to energy. Even to an industry like fast fashion. There was recently an analysis of fast fashion. They say that 65% of the landfill in the US is the result of fast fashion. This is an industry which entices you and me to buy something new every 3 months because the fashion had changed. Many of those things get thrown away in the US after a single use. Now, is that a good industry to live with? How can we do a change in an industry like this? So maybe we can take an industry cut. And I think at the core of all these kind of things, one can look at development in a very fundamental or a foundational way, saying that what do we call as growth? Typically national growth is looked at GDP growth. Now the economic or the accounting basis of that, I think it's time to question. So these are the various facets that, in my opinion, we should look at when we look at sustainable development. We should look at not only the problems and their solutions, but we should also, and to me this is very important, we should also document, celebrate, and broadcast good work done by NGOs in this area. When we find that this work is impactful and is scalable, because I think the problems are huge, and unless we achieve scale, nothing will happen. So work done, big or small, which can potentially be very impactful, should come within our purview. And of course, that has to be done along with good scientific objective analysis. We have with us today Praveen Bhagwat. Praveen has been running an institution called 14 Trees. Very interesting concept. The amount of CO2 that we generate in our lifetimes can be consumed and consolidated if we plant 14 trees. That's the least that we can do to make our environment sustainable. He has done exceptionally good work. I think that kind of a work can be strengthened by a clear, fact-based, research-based analysis which can be done by the Center for Sustainable Development. Then we can find out how can be implemented, replicated all over the country. That can be a beacon for hope for quite a bit of work, such kind of cases. And there are many cases, sometimes you look at a website like the Better India, or other areas where you come up with these cases. The question to ask is, how do you scientifically judge it and come up with a mechanism where you can make it replicable? I think that is something that we need to do. To me, a very important part of the work at the center will be social outreach. That to me is extremely critical. We live in a society where discussions on core matters generate more heat than light. On such key issues, TV is unwatchable. Papers are rarely readable, and we really need a forum where open, constructive, fact-based discussion can happen. And in my opinion, this center can create a benchmark for that. I think that would be a proper tribute. That would be a proper tribute to the person whose name this institute bears. Gokhale always stood for that. And I think that is something that we need to do. And I think this is the right thing to do at the right time. I would like to end on a personal note. Sustainable development is about environment. And environment is something about which my wife and me have been very, very passionate. That's at the core of our heart. The companies that I represent are also focused on sustainability. Now, it's not just pure sustainability from an environmental perspective, but economic sustainability and technology as a bridge between the environment and economics, and that is what we really look at. And so in that context, I find the work that is going to be done here is very important. A question to ask, for each one of us is, why should we support an initiative like this? And I want to answer for me as to why I am supporting this initiative. First is, of course, the institute, and we talked about the background of this institute. One can never, ever accuse this institute of coming out with publications which are meant to support the view of the sponsor. And that is what we really depend on. Objectivity is core, and that is why I really respect this. So one reason is, of course, the institute. Second is, of course, the Vice Chancellor, and Ajit is here, and I'm really glad that, I feel comfortable that he'll be able to take it forward. Then, of course, the director, Gurdas Nulkar is the director of the center. Actually, he's the guru. I recently did a course by the Ecological Society, and he was my guru. I am the Gurudas, actually. So, so I'm glad about the institute, about the Vice Chancellor, about the director. I think a question quite often is asked is that, hey, we can come up with research papers and policies and stuff like that, but the powers that be, they may do what they want to do. And, there is frustration. I feel that this is an area where each one of us has to contribute. I feel individuals have to contribute. Because if an institution depends completely on government, the objectivity gets compromised. And I think there is a need for all of us to support an exercise of this. And that's the reason why I think Pramod is here and I am here, because we believe that. As a part of this institute, we have agreed that this institute will not bear the name of a funder, because I think the institute is over and above the funder. And I think this is very critical. So these are the reasons why I thought that this is the right thing to do. In my opinion, the time is also most opportune, because I think there is a global awareness that we really need to look at sustainability, because all of us feel worried about the children and grandchildren, what lives they are going to have, and what is it that we need to do today. So the time is right. I think the social awareness is there. A whole new onslaught of technologies is coming here. And in this area, which is of great passion to us, and I'm particularly happy Dr. Mashelkar is here with us, because together we co-wrote a book on rapid but sustainable development, really dealing with this area. And I'm glad, and one of the most important issues in that we said is good policy planning. And I believe that through this work, we will be able to contribute to that policy planning. So thank you very much. Again, thank you for being here this morning.
Thank you, sir. Our next guest, Dr. Pramod Chaudhary, fondly known as the Ethanol Man, is Executive Chairman at Praj Industries Limited. He is the 2022 recipient of the William C. Omberg Award for the Lifetime Achievement in Bioeconomy, becoming the first Asian recipient of the honor. He is also the 2020 recipient of the George Washington Carver Award, becoming the first Indian to receive the honor. Please address us, sir.
Thank you. Thank you very much. What a great honor to be here amongst very big number of intellectual and Pune's intelligentsia for variety of things, including the environment and allied things. Hearty congrats to Ajit and Gaip. He has taken over by 1 year back, taken over this. 10 months.
10 months. And he has put a fast gear. Everything is on the fast gear. And that's how we see so many activities happening. Launch of CSD, and you find a lot of my IIT Bombay alumni among the crowd. They feel proud of him also. He has made a shift from corporate world to academia. That's the major background he's having of corporate world under his belt. Such center of repute, non-partisan center, hopefully, is missing from the city. There are many centers here, but many of them cannot be called non-partisan. The second thing which is emphasis that this will be the center on empirical work and not on the theoretical. There are many centers produce thought papers, and those thought papers are really written in air-conditioned room, keeping only lopsided objects in the mind. And I think that this center is going to avoid it. I assume that. And some centers promote the interests of certain things, certain elements, which will also not happen, which Ravi also mentioned. It will be many claims and papers, they require validation and endorsement. At least now they can be challenged with the help of empirical work. Also, the authentic advice and advocacy will be done. This is the minimum thing which I am hoping from this center to happen. Now, coming to the area which we have chosen is the subject of bioeconomy. I represent the industry and the concept of bioeconomy, which was neglected heavily in this country for quite some time. And of late, it has got some attention. That's a very, in the solar and windmills, this got lost.
Close mic.
It's okay. It was lost in the glamour of windmills, solar, and nowadays EV and hydrogen is also trying to camouflage the reality of the subject. Bioeconomy is, according to me, is sustainable from the point of view of rural involvement, ecological involvement, and also the jobs for rural youth as well as for agriculture output. So these are the things covered. It's a one-in-all kind of a situation, and this was not taken care of earlier. Nowadays, it is drawing some attention. And now it is also becoming one of the important elements for aviation fuel. Nobody had thought of earlier about aviation fuel, how you're going to run the aeroplanes or fly the aeroplanes with what kind of fuel. And this has become a very important aspect. Praj promotes the concept of biomobility. The biomobility is mobility, transportation in all aspects, on air, on road, and in water. And that's where it takes care of the requirement of otherwise fossil fuels. It gives a decarbonization effect to all these three modes. And we also run bioeconomy into bioprism, that is for renewable chemicals and materials, which is also another big challenge. How you eliminate those things, and that's where these biomaterials will play a very important role. There we are lacking a lot, but one has to really look into it. You know, plastic is a perpetual thing. In the bottom of the sea, you will find huge quantum of plastic which is affecting the marine life. And there's not much thought has gone into it. And I hope we are able to create that awareness with facts and figures. Incidentally, we are working on 2 biofuel projects in USA. Now, these projects are what they call net zero projects. My colleague here, Shishir, is looking into that aspect. And these projects are supposed to be either creating net zero carbon, life cycle analysis, or they create negative carbon. That was the whole concept. And these projects are to produce the aviation fuel in USA. Compared to that, I don't think we have got any such plans. We are still talking about routine things. We have plans India to become net zero by 2070. Now people are publishing papers saying in Pune by net zero by 2030 without any sound foundation. Many cities like Bombay 2045, I mean people just talk about it. Somebody should authenticate that kind of thing, whether the plan presented is authentic or not. And I think that's the responsibility which CSD will call. And these institutes are run by intellectuals. That's why I have no anger with the intellectuals, but these are just like those kind of things. And we don't want to encourage that. There's no deeper studies and there's no baseline data. The starting point is baseline data. Against this background, Praj has selected a project, very small step, to make a village Mandede, which is just 35-40 kilometers away from Pune, as a net zero village. I think India has got huge number of villages. I don't know how many villages are there in the country. But it has to happen there. People like to draw the attention of the cities, but I am taking the first step, very baby step, with the help of this center. Sir, we would like to make this village Mandede, where we have done some CSR work in the past, to become the first net zero village covering all aspects of the village requirements, whether it is electricity, solar, whether it is to do with biogas, cooking, and all those things put together. This will be in collaboration with this center, starting with the baseline data. And this is a village in the Pune metropolitan region. So that will also be helpful to cover up the other villages. This will also establish the use of bioeconomy in the rural background. Rural background is the background of the country. Majority of the population is living in the rural background. And that's where the real sustainability will take place. That's my belief. And we would like to pursue. Like some of the government leaders are saying that Annadatta has to also become Urjadatta. And there is a lot of challenges and criticism made against that. Whether the food versus fuel debate will start, whether the Ajit mentioned about sugarcane, whether that water will create shortage or land use. So all those things are there. There are formulae available or prepared by other countries, and we have not touched upon them. Indirect land use or water usage and all those things. In our opinion, sugarcane is the most efficient converter of solar energy into useful energy. So that is not looked at from that point of view, but it is being criticized, it gathers water. Yes, it gathers water, but what way it can be, if you go for drip irrigation, it can be saved, it can be reduced. So there are every problem, there is a solution. And if you can take a holistic approach, I am sure we'll be able to find some practical solution, practical, affordable solution, and which are appropriate to our country. We can't talk about the solutions which are not affordable or not suitable for our country. And that's where I hope this center will be able to address all these aspects. I wish good luck to this center. Thank you very much for giving us the opportunity to join your center, sir. And I hope that will create some authentic desk in the city of Pune, which is missing today. Again, I repeat this part. I've seen a lot of papers, somebody gets up and puts a paper and puts some thoughts, which is not the way it should be. And I think this will be giving us a chance to look at the realistic picture going forward. Thank you. Thank you once again. Just wanted to welcome you. We have not welcomed you so far, so this is just I'm taking the occasion of 1 minute to another minute, half a minute. For your welcome to the institute and launching for this center. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, sir. Dr. Raghunath Mashelkar, a strong believer of Gandhian engineering, a recipient of 3 of the highest civilian awards, and a recipient of 45 honorary doctorates from universities around the globe. I now invite you, sir, to address the gathering.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Let me begin by extending to each one of you and your beloved family and the extended family a very, very happy New Year with all the attributes that you so brilliantly captured. I can't reproduce them, but I endorse them. I also want to thank you for a gift that you have given to me. 80 years means I have celebrated 81st January, right? I consider this as the finest of my life, the morning, because you are doing something which is so noble, so important for the sake of not only the nation but for the world. You know, I used to celebrate my 1st Januaries over the last few years in different ways. Mornings I'm talking about. I remember when I turned 75, I had 75 young children from slums and spent, I think, around 3 hours with them, not giving lectures to them, but learning from them. And they were all from municipal schools, by the way. And they had greater wisdom, I saw, than the convent-going schools, I can assure you. So this was my learning. There was 1 year when I spent time with blind students. I must thank Deepak Shikarpur for making that happen. There was 1 year where I spent time with deaf and dumb students. The have-nots, essentially. So this one is extremely special. Thank you for making it happen. The second is the day I received the invitation. It was an afternoon around 1:30, I remember. I was on my iPad. You know, my biography, Sagar Deshpande is here. He's bringing it out. It is called Durdamya Ashavadi, because people call me a dangerous optimist. So that's the title. And there, it is interesting. When he called me, I was writing about these two gentlemen on the dais. It's such a coincidence. You know, Pramod you and Ravi you. And I said, what a coincidence. And then Ajit reminded me, you think you're a great scientist, but there is something you don't understand. It is cosmic. I got a lecture from him, basically. So, you know, with all humility, sort of, I accepted sort of the great message that he had given. And of course, I don't have to talk about sustainability. You have had two people who have not been just thought leaders, but action leaders in different ways. And I can't just add anything to it by way of new wisdom. All that I would say is that COVID, if you look at the kind of disaster, of course it was, but there were lots of learnings from COVID. And one of them, according to me, is that it gave us a trailer of what a full-fledged climate change would entail. In terms of, in a very short time, the way the supply chains, the demand cycles, proliferation and amplification of small disturbances went global, I think is a brilliant trailer of what can happen if you have full-fledged climate change. And if we don't learn from that, I think we'll be making a big mistake. So already we have been given a signal, and therefore we need to do everything that will help the matter. I think with these three murtis there, and with this center coming up and the expectations have been spelled up, I have no doubt that not only what they expect will be delivered, but much more will be delivered. You know, I have known each one of them for many years now. I mean, Pramod, we go a long way back. I remember I was a member of the directors of, board of directors of TDICI, which was set up by ICICI, which was a venture capital company. I came much later after you had Narayan Waghul supporting you as a technopreneur. And from those days, I think you and Kiran Mazumdar Shaw, Biocon, basically. They were the early technologists. So we talk about startup as though this is something new. I'm sorry. They were the ones. They were the pioneers, actually, in terms of technopreneurship. And I've been his great follower, going to setting up in 5 continents and 1,000+ companies. He has earned the name of Ethanol Man. Yes, absolutely right. And I remember inaugurating your Praj Matrix R&D Center. Deep commitment. He doesn't believe in Make in India as in assembled in India. He believes in Make in India as in invented in India. And you have done so well by integrating that. As far as Ravi is concerned, again, we go a long way. He was kind enough to invite me to the board, KPIT. Not only that, he created KPIT Innovation Council, of which I was a chair, and the kind of commitment that he has to the society is incredible. I mean, some of us know about Janwani, but there are so many other things that he is doing in terms of promoting science and among the young children. It's amazing. But more importantly, his commitment to not only technology, but sustainability. Sentient is his favorite word. I had the privilege of co-authoring the book with him, Leapfrogging to Pole Vaulting. Bedukudute Hanwanudi. That was what it was. But the subtitle was very important. It was creating the magic of radical yet sustainable transformation. That is almost making impossible possible. So I think I always say that our aspirations are our possibilities, and they have to be kept high. And we actually illustrate in the book how we can actually sort of do it in practice. Can we do it in this case? The kind of alert and alarm that Pramod has given in terms of making reality checks, I agree with him. Our feet have to be in the ground, but we must aspire. We must dream. If you don't dream, you will not sort of achieve them. So how do you create that balance? According to me, that is sort of the greatest challenge. By the way, I was just thinking yesterday night, because when you turn 50, 60, 70, 80, until that, it's okay, 70. But when it is 80, it hits you. It looks like your last innings and how many 1st Januaries you will have in your year. So, to start with, when we talk about sustainability, it is ability to sustain. Because every day I get a firing from Vaishali, you must slow down, slow down, slow down. Can you? Because I go 24/7, day after day, week after week, month after month, year after year. So I think at an individual level, how can we sustain what we are doing? I think we have to make a reality check. But if you look at that ability to sustain, as far as India is concerned, the world is concerned, it is obvious that there are different tools, technologies, people, policies, practices that will be needed. Technology is needed, policy is needed. You have to look at the local level as we talk, national level as we talk. It's an interconnected world. What somebody else does affects us, so on and so forth. So we have to look at a global too. And how do we create that balance, I think, is a big sort of challenge. But most importantly, it is the social behavior also. I think we have to get people involved very much. I'm very happy to see Amitav here. I'm very happy to see my guru, Madhav Gadgil, here. Madhav, namaskar. He has been not only my guru, but guru, we worked together, by the way. I was chair of Goa's Golden Jubilee Development Council. And I remember it was his guidance, because Goa had these challenges, as you know, mining. And there, the plan that we did on development without destruction, basically, I think was something remarkable that the rest of the country can follow. So we have learned these lessons. And Amitav, thank you very much. You have been also a guru, Pune International Center. He has been driving our climate change agenda. But one of the things I remember, Amitav, that idea came out a few years ago when we were just talking. And I said, we have normal literacy, we have digital literacy, we must have climate literacy. Because each one of us creates a carbon footprint every day. And how can we reduce it? And while we are doing it, we are not even aware. Like we are shaving and the tap is running, we are adding, and so on and so forth. Every small activity, right from the time you go. So I remember our creating that climate literacy sort of program, and it's so important. I used to, in fact, I gave an example when we started that. I don't mind repeating it. You know, I was a consultant for World Bank on restructuring Indonesian R&D institutions, and a Saturday was off, and I was sitting in this hotel, Borobudur, and reading a book. And I saw a small pond. There's a big pond and a small pond. And there were Japanese tourists, so they had left them with, some support staff and all, and they had gone shopping or whatever. And I remember there were a few children, 4, 5, 6-year-old, and suddenly a leaf came and fell. Like when we were sitting here, leaves were falling, by the way, on the table. Somebody has cleared them. And I saw one child. It looked at it, went and tried to catch it. But it was doing it the wrong way, splashing, so it was going. So I thought it was playing. It caught it. And then what that child did was interesting. You know, it jumped, went in search of the right place, the dustbin, put it there and came. A Japanese child. There is a big lesson here. It might look like a small story. How does it learn that? I remember I was in China when I took over as director of NCL, National Chemical Laboratory. And I'm talking about these because these are fundamental, by the way. We can do all the technologies, everything else. But if we don't change, there is a challenge. I remember I said National Chemical Laboratory should be also not just research and development, but an international consultancy center. And there was this bid in China that World Bank had put up on restructuring and reforming their chemistry institutions in Nanjing and Suzhou. And I remember sending a bid. And it was a real tough time. In 1990, we didn't have foreign exchange, we didn't have anything. So I had to sort of borrow and then request a friend to give us a conference room in a 5-star hotel, etc., etc. And then I asked for a translator, Chinese to English, English to Chinese, because that was also expensive. And I remember the High Commissioner was kind enough to give us a commercial attaché. And I and our colleagues were going on a Beijing street, and he was smoking a cigarette. And you know, we can win the Olympics in terms of fastest throw of a half-burnt cigarette. He did that. A schoolgirl in uniform came, pulled out a sort of a receipt book, fined him. He paid the money, and we went ahead. Then I asked him, what is this? He said, in this locality, anybody can find anyone, by the way. All right? This is social engagement. Try to do it in Pune. I don't know what will happen, but so the point I'm trying to make is that I think when we talk about science, the behavioral science is as important. Let us not forget it. And that starts with us. That starts with our grandchildren, our children. That is one point I wanted to make very strongly, because I'm quite sure that when you do the research, the social science part of it, I think is going to be very critical. I remember chairing this, after our Honorable Prime Minister announced this Swachh Bharat. There was a committee under my chairmanship to select technologies, and I found all the members who were technologists. I said, no, it is not about building toilets, it's about using toilets. And we got some social scientists involved in that. So I hope over a period of time, and I'm sure you will do that, that particular social engagement. As you said on the other day, many times economists don't think about the social part of it. You are an exception, of course, but I think that has to be integrated. That was my small suggestion. The third thing is that I'm very happy. I'm very biased towards Pune, as you know, actually. And I have always found that what Pune does today India does tomorrow. That was the idea of Pune International Center also as a think tank and so on and so forth. So we had, Ashish has not come here today, is it? Or Ashish Lele? He's missing. Anyway, there was a very interesting meeting that Department of Science and Technology has taken an initiative on hydrogen valleys, by the way. And NCL held that particular meeting with the Pune Knowledge Cluster, and I remember chairing it. And we tried to see what we can do in sort of diversity of activities in order to make, let's say, Pune a hydrogen valley. And it was incredible. You know, the participation on 15 December, I chaired that. 70 people were there, but 23 from industry. And diverse aspects, Pramod. You know, diverse aspects. I mean, there were industry, there were R&D organizations, public service units, startups, there were testing certification, entire hydrogen value chain, the people, experts in fuel cells, electrolyzers, bio-based hydrogen producers, catalytic systems, some of the key raw materials, and even subsystems like bipolar plates and sealants and reformers. So I was absolutely, that was a revelation for me, what Pune has. And therefore, if they are all sort of brought together, we can make it happen. I think we need to take initiatives like that. In fact, when I talked about the way it went and the way we are going to sort of do it in short term, mid term, long term, and as you know, some require resource, some don't require resource. So you can always have a low-hanging fruit, etc. So when we gave that plan, the Secretary of Department of Science and Technology said, you create the Pune model, we'll replicate it around the country. So there are opportunities. I think the main point I'm trying to make is that there is an opportunity. There's one more point I want to make, because I don't want to repeat anything that has been said. But one of the key points that is going to come up is what is being referred to as just transition. Transition that the justice, you know, because what we are talking about, what will come in? Hydrogen will come in, biofuels will come in. What we are not talking about, what will go out? And when it goes out, what impact it is going to have on us? So I am very fortunate to be associated with a number of things. So one of them is this International Forum for Environment, Sustainability and Technology, IFOREST as we call it. And Chandrabhushan, you know, he's one of the sort of thought leaders as well as action leaders in environment. I chair the governing council, but he's the man behind everything. And there is a lot of work that center has done in terms of just transition, which is a inclusive transition, which is a human-centric transition, so as to say. And particularly, there have been very deep studies on coal, because coal have to go away. And when coal goes away, what's going to happen? All right? So there is interesting statistics. For example, you know, this just transition is being talked about now. 2015, you know, in the Paris Agreement, it became a key component, as a matter of fact, in climate disclosures. But in COP27, the just transition became a spotlight. And if you remember, there's a $20 billion deal between Indonesia and G7 countries just to phase down the coal. That was a specific deal. Then South Africa, for example, similar one in 2021, and so on. So it looks like that the future transfer of climate finance between fossil-dominant countries, fossil fuel dependent as well as dominant producer countries and rich G7 centers could be just one of the transition partners. So this is evolving. This is work in progress. I think that is the point I'm trying to make. But if you look at India, for example, there have been very deep studies that have been done, and there's a book that is out. You can get it on their website. You see, Jharkhand, for example, 50% of mines have been closed, and half of them are not profitable, by the way. The remaining one, which are operational. Look at Bokaro now, 16 out of 25 have been closed. And Ramgarh, for example, there's a rapid closure, 50% are already shut, and 2/3 of the operating ones are unprofitable, but 40% of the GDP of that region depends on them. All right? And one-fourth of the human population there depends on this. So Ravi, the question is, when we do this, when we have this, how do you balance that out? How do you re-skill people? You get my point, because most of them, and 1 out of 4, by the way, is formal. The remaining is non-formal. So these are non-formal, unskilled people who have done nothing else in their life but do that. I think that has to come to the center stage now, because we are only talking about what will come in. We are not talking about what will go out and what will be their consequences. I like to end here. There are 4 or 5 points I thought I would make for your consideration. My science that I did, the research that I did, one of the areas was viscoelasticity. Now, what is viscoelasticity? You can either have a viscous fluid, like water that you have, or you can have a solid, elastic solid, like a rubber ball. You can't have combination of both. But there are fluids who have properties of both. And I used to demonstrate that in my rheology and non-Newtonian fluid mechanics classes. The experiment was that I will take a silicon rubber putty, so as to say, and I would bounce it. It would bounce like a rubber ball. Okay? Then I will leave it there and give my full lecture and come back. And that putty would have flown all over as a liquid. Okay? Then I would ask the student, is it solid? Then how did it flow? Is it liquid? How did it bounce? So you combine the properties of both in such fluids. That has been my area of research, by the way, looking at it phenological level, molecular level, and so on and so forth. But there's an interesting experiment I used to do, which is to make that putty into a cylinder and stretch it slowly. And when I stretched it slowly, I could go up to this. But then I used to redo that experiment by holding it and stretching it rapidly. It will break. So there is what is called as a Deborah number, we used to call it. The process time in which you do it, and the characteristic material time, which is the response time, so as to say. Simple point is that in a society, if you make a rapid change, unmindfully, without listening to your policy, it will break. And the country has to create that balance. But at the same time, you have to bring in characteristics of resilience, that no matter how fast you do, you can still do that. That was our leapfrogging to pole vaulting. And therefore, for example, taking climate, if you look at light-emitting diodes, in 7 years, we moved from 0.2% to 88%. All right? How did we do that? We did demand aggregation and brought down the price of a 9-watt lamp from $9 to $1, because it was demand aggregation. Huge demand was aggregated. And then we created system delivery and other innovations to bring it. And it was done with great speed, because normally it would have taken for adoption of a new technology like this, because you're replacing your fluorescent lights, etc., 5 years. We did it in 6 months. So there was a speed, there was a scale, yet there was a sustainability. So I've given you 2 examples, and that is where smart policies, we do require speed, we do require scale, but sustainably, these solutions have to be done. Now let me end by saying that today is 1st January 2022. I'm looking 2022. 23, 1st January 2023, this year, that is my challenge. So 1st January 2043, 20 years down the line, right? I would like to see this center in 20 years, and not Pune's best, Maharashtra's best, India's best, world's best. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. I now request the registrar to come up to the dais for the signing of the MOU.
Sorry. Yeah.
We now turn to the launch of the revival edition of Equilibria. Equilibria is the student-run editorial of the Gokhale Institute of Politics and Economics, and the theme for this edition is Green Economics, which focuses on a variety of subjects within the sustainability repertoire. I request the dignitaries present to launch the edition. This is the team at Equilibria. Thank you. I now invite the registrar to propose the vote of thanks.
Thank you very much. Very good morning and a happy new year to the esteemed dignitaries, guests, colleagues, ladies and gentlemen. I am Colonel Kapil Jodh. I am the registrar of the institute, and it is a privilege for me to stand here and express my gratitude to our chief guest, Dr. Raghunath Mashelkar, who has taken time out on his special day to be with us. And thank you, sir. We are indeed indebted. And we pray to Almighty that you have many more 1st Januaries to come, sir.
I get an idea, sorry. I invited you on 1st January 2043. Yes. I'll be there.
Yes. I wish to take this opportunity to thank Dr. Ravi Pandit of KPIT and Dr. Pramod Chaudhary of Praj Industries. Thank you, sir, for having seen value in our work and giving us a launch pad for furtherance of sustainable development. A special thanks to the trustees of the Servants of India Society, represented today by Mr. Milind Deshmukh, for their continuing support in all our endeavors. Today, sitting under this hallowed banyan tree, UTBT as we call it, I wish to thank the media representatives from the renowned media houses of the city and also thank each one of our esteemed guests who have taken great efforts on this New Year's Day to be present with us. I am sure that the Center for Sustainable Development will usher in a culture of research and policy advocacy in the very critical field of environmental sustainability. In the end, I wish to thank the faculty and staff of Gokhale Institute for all the support extended today. But before we move forward, I wish to request our chief guest, Dr. Raghunath Mashelkar, to plant a sapling to commemorate today's event. Sir. Yes. Yes.